And we are live from the heartland of America. I'm Jeffey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. Welcome to the channel. Glad that you're here today. Some important information. We're going to look at the seed, the start, the beginning, the source of the Jesuits. A lot of people want to assign the leadership of the world cabal to usually one group. I think they're wrong. I think it's probably this group and not that group, but we'll talk about that as we go. And I hope you saw the show yesterday with the founders of Focus Life Force Energy, High Consciousness on Demand. Great stuff being offered by these folks. We're glad to be affiliated with them. It is High Consciousness on Demand. You can use it. No better time right now than to go to jeffreydaugherty.com, click on that fluffy logo, and find out all about it. Take advantage of it. Let's talk about the Jesuits. And I know that a lot of people have a lot of thoughts about the Jesuits, but with me, the first thing always is, what's the source? Where did they come from? What was their origins? And we can find out a lot about them. Of course, they became in the 1500s, but I think if we go way, way, way back, we're going to find a lot more about the Jesuits. And this is inspired by Joseph Atwill's Caesar's Messiah. So let's talk about these Jesuits, ladies and gentlemen. Now, to talk about the Jesuits, we've got to go all the way back to Imperial Rome. And that really shouldn't surprise anybody. And there were 4 main colleges of religion in Rome. And something just caught my eye as I was sitting down. If you look at this emblem of the Jesuits, you got the Jesuits here, and then you got 3 other nails which represent the colleges. Now I know you're going to tell me, oh, those are the nails of HERU DISTU when he was crucified. Yes, maybe, but this is also telling us there's still 4 colleges, and that the Jesuits consider themselves the dean, the head of the other 3 Roman colleges, because it's new boss, same as the old boss. And these colleges of Roman religion were 4 priestly colleges in Rome that were responsible for overseeing religion in the empire. Imagine that. There was colleges, priestly orders that were responsible for overseeing religion in the empire. Religion was very, very important to the state. Ergo, these colleges, these orders had considerable power. And from the Emperor Augustus on, the emperor himself was a member of all 4 of these colleges. That's how important religion was in Imperial Rome, because they understood the centripetal or the centrifugal force of religion. Now, we don't go past words we don't know. I just threw a couple at you. Centrifugal force, think of a centrifuge. It throws everything to the outside, disrupts everything. Religion can be a centrifugal force. Put a bunch of different religions together, or just 2 or 3, and you can have a centrifugal mess, them pulling apart according to religious lines. But if you can get a strong central religion, then it becomes centripetal, and it pulls everything together towards itself. And that's what Rome was trying to do, was come up with a centripetal religion that could encompass all of the religions of the empire. And so important was religion that from Augustus on, the emperor was a member of all 4 of these colleges. That's how powerful religion is. Even in a dictatorship, even in a dictatorial empire like Rome, and we might say especially important. Think about Stalin and how he went out of his way to destroy religion. You find evil leaders, you'll find them destroying religion. But at any rate, let's move on. The 4 great priestly classes, and this is a great chance to practice your enunciation once again. There's 4 great priestly colleges. They were the Pontifices, the Septemviri Epulones, the Quindae Semviri Sacris Faciundas, and the Augurs. Thank goodness for the Augurs. They're roughly analogous to the 4 colleges of the Roman Church that we have today: Dominican, Franciscan, Jesuit, and Benedictine orders. What else could they be analogous to? Could they be analogous to Judaism, Christianity? Oh, you know what it is, dudes? Judaism, Roman Christianity, Roman Protestantism, Islam. Dude, Judaism, Roman Catholicism, Roman Protestantism, and Islam. And if you, let's go back to this picture at the beginning. If you go back to this, you'll probably find the seeds of all four right here under the Society of Jesus. This gets more and more interesting. This gets more and more interesting. Sorry. New bosses, same as the old bosses, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Interesting. And I didn't notice those things, but I bet you all four of them do come from Jesuit roots. Man. As Vinny Eastwood heads into the chat room, we will try to move on past this. Wow, that's a great, something just didn't sit right. Okay, so, but let's talk about one in particular. And you'll see why I wanted to talk about one in particular. And I believe that this one in particular is where the Jesuits came from. And this is the Quin Decemviri Sacris Faciundus. And if you look in there, you see the word December leading you to these birth thoughts and these birth things about it being Jesus, HERU. Wow. And this cult was responsible for the regulation. This college was responsible for the regulation of foreign cults in Rome. Think about that. It was responsible for the regulation of cults in Rome. All of the foreign cults that were active in Rome, the QSF, we'll call it for short, was responsible for. And all the Flavian emperors, Augustine, oh God, I can't even think right now. Domitian, Titus, and their dad, which escapes my name right now, they were all members of this college. And that means that they all would have studied all the major cults active in Rome during this era, including nascent, and that means growing up, becoming Christianity, nascent. Vespasian was his name. Vespasian was his. Each one of these guys knew about Christianity. They would have studied Christianity. And this is how they identified Christianity as a great vehicle, as a perfect vehicle, really, to build their new religion on. Fantastic stuff. Most notably, and it gets deeper and it gets more real, and you'll be able to understand even more so why this was the place that the Jesuits came from. Most notably, the QSF guarded the Sibylline books. And the Sibylline books were scriptures that were consulted and interpreted at the request of the emperor, at the request of the Republican senators as well. And the Sibylline books were a collection of oracular utterances, like HERU DISTU. He didn't write anything down. He was an oracle, wasn't he? Interesting. And they were just like the New Testament, the Roman Testament, written in Greek. And they were written in hexameters, which is a little bit of a rhyme, metric lines that rhymed. And according to tradition, they were purchased from a sibyl or a seer by the last king of Rome. And they were consulted at momentous crises throughout the history of the Republic and the Empire. And only fragments have survived. The rest of them are being lost. But very interesting that the QSF was very scriptural centric. They were Greek scriptures. And by the way, this is not to be confused with the so-called Sibylline oracles, which is 12 books of so-called prophecy that are of Judeo-Christian origin. So I'm not talking about that. But this was a very scripture-centric group, and it makes perfect sense that they would come up with the idea to create a new scripture-centric religion to fool and to enslave the masses. And December's built right into them. You think of Saturnalia, you think of the birth of the Extian holidays, and the Flavians fulfilled all of HERU, DISTU's doomsday prophecies. There's a word key in the box below. We don't say these words because we don't want to give energy to the entities that empower these words. So the Flavians literally fulfilled all of HERU's doomsday prophecies. Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian fulfilled all of the prophecies of Daniel, of Matthew 24, of the book of Revelation. They fulfilled all of them. And as Vinny says, it's called Flavian disregard for history. And that's exactly true. Because what they did, the reason why the prophecies were so point on is because the prophecies were written about 30 years after the stuff happened. And if you're writing a work in 100 AD about something that happened in 70 AD, you can be pretty doggone precise with your prophecy. And that's what happened. That's why you think that HERU is such a great prophet, because the Romans wrote him to be a great prophet so he would fool you. And Titus's mistress, again, Titus was a member of the QSF, Titus's mistress Bernice and Tiberius Alexander are actually mentioned in the book of Acts. Now, you know, when you're writing something up, you're making something up, you want to put yourself in it. It's vanity, and that's exactly what they did. And it's another powerful argument for Flavian authorship of the Roman Testament, which is the New Testament. And Tracy just said something very interesting. And sometime I need to sit down and look at all these truisms, all these cliches, like hindsight is always 20/20. Where did that get started? Because it could have very well got started right here in Rome in about 100 AD, because hindsight is exactly 20/20. We associate that with perfect vision. When you can write prophecy after it happens and backdate it, because you're the ones in charge of what gets written, what gets distributed, when, where, why, how, boom. That's how they did it, ladies and gentlemen. And you've fallen for it for 2,000 years. And by the way, it was on Vinny's show when I first met Joe Atwell. Joe Atwell and I were both guests. And I remember Vinny said to me, let's try to keep it respectful. He thought I was going to go after Joe or something. At that time, it was probably something he should have thought of. But now Joe and I are fast friends working together, and our information actually flows together. And it's nice that you have people like Joe Atwell and Vinny Eastwood that actually have some guts, have some testicular fortitude, not like all these little girls out here today. And I know that's offensive to little girls, I'm sorry, that won't debate because they don't want to be defeated publicly and humiliated because they don't believe in what they actually teach. But the Jesuits, the Society of Jesus of HERU, would not be formed until 1540, which is about 1,200 years after the demise of the QSF. But look again, folks, at what the QSF was. It was a very powerful college of priests that were scripture-focused and responsible for cults within the realm of the Roman Empire. The Jesuits were formed and known as the Pope's army. And while the Pope was not one of their own until today, they were and they are fiercely loyal and militant to Scripture And also, too, the doctrine of the emperor, of the pope, to all papal doctrine. And they're also famously known for subterfuge and intrigue, even infiltrating other religions to bring them down. That's what the Jesuits do. Sounds a lot like the Quin Decemberi Sacris Faciundus. Sounds a lot like them to me, ladies and gentlemen. A lot like them. So sometimes you can look and you can seek and you can find and you can begin to understand where things come from, begin to understand how things come together, how things fall together, and it begins to make much more sense and makes it much more real to you. And you can't be any more real than Rome writing the New Testament, Rome creating Christianity and fooling you into worshiping the emperor and worshiping Rome for lo these 2,000 years. And you know, if you just were tuned to the ideal human resonance of planet Earth, if you just had yourselves in harmony instead of chaos through the wearing of the Mystech jewelry, it'd be a lot easier for you to get your mind right and to get your head straight. So you can go to jeffreydaugherty.com, click on the Mystech logo. There's even a Mystech tab with many of the offerings there, and you save a full 20% off. So let's go into the chat room real quickly and see what you all have to say about what I've had to say. It should be interesting. I understand it's a great day in Washington State. We're glad to hear that, at least the part that Alexa's in. A great day here in the heartland as well. Nice and sunny. We really, really feel good about that. And it looks like spring has definitely sprung. And I'm very excited. I don't know about you, but I am ready for some spring to start rocking and rolling. Let's see. What else we got in here? We got a lot of distraction, but that's okay. Cynthia says, hello, everybody. And we're glad to see Cynthia and everyone here as well. Of course, Vinny Eastwood dropping in. Nice to see Vinny. New boxes, same as the old boxes. Yep. New paradigms, same as the old paradigms. New bosses, same as the old bosses. And indeed, it was Vespasian. And thank you for that, Vinny. I appreciate that exhortation. And let's see, what else we got going here? What else we got going here, folks? Let's see. Jama pulling an analogy between HERU and hero. That's a good one. Being cynical means that you're correct 90% of the time and pleasantly surprised 10% of the time. That's interesting. I like that. Mystech is great stuff. You'll be glad when you do get one. Are the Jesuits the power behind most Christianity? Absolutely, 100% without a doubt. They are the power behind Christianity. And things haven't changed that much since the days of the QSF, ladies and gentlemen. Things have not changed that much since the days of the QSF, and I agree with Nemesis 1122 here. The Jesuits are the power behind most things. A lot of people think it's somebody else that starts with a J. I think those other ones that you think work for these ones. But we've got a long way to go to prove that, and that's what we're here for. We're here to help you unindoctrinate yourself. We're here to help you guide your own spirit, master your own ascension, and be your own guru. And to do that, you've got to unindoctrinate yourself. And I'm gonna answer this from Vinny because it's a great question. Did the Jesuits create end time programming, pre-tribulation rapture? Vinny, the Jesuits created every jot, every tittle, every line. They created every word of everything that you know as end time prophecy. They created every bit of it, from the rapture all the way through the book of Revelation. It's 100%, thank you, sweetheart, Jesuit created. So if anyone is preaching to you end time prophecy, they're preaching Jesuit doctrine, and I can prove it. Literally up until the late 1500s, rapture, Antichrist, tribulation period, trumpets, vials, seals, red heifer, third temple. None of that existed. None of that existed. It was invented, all of it, by the Jesuits. And the interesting and even more ironic part of it was, and I think Vinny knows the answers to this, he's just making good conversation. The even more ironic part is that the Protestant Reformation was to fight against those things. And the Jesuit Counter-Reformation was about those things. And today you've got Protestants preaching, teaching, pushing, championing Jesuit doctrine and coming against people like me that point out that fact. Yeah, it is easier to fool people than to convince them that they've been fooled. And it's harder still to give them the information and get them to convince themselves, but that is my job. Vinny, I'm trying to get out here, and Vinny keeps asking good questions. Explain the rapture deception and what believing in it does to make Christians stand down. I mean, obviously, the rapture is not real. It's not true. And before the show started, I wrote down every verse in the Christian Bible that proves the rapture. There's a list right there. But Jeff, it's empty. Of course it is. That's the point. And it causes them to have that heavenly minded, no earthly good sentimentality. Hey, I'm coming to get airlifted, so I don't care what happens to this world. I'm not going to help. I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit here and wait for the holy airlift to come. Ain't coming, ladies and gentlemen. Ain't coming. And it is highly escapist. It's mentally lazy and mentally irregular. For Tracy Dyer, our great moderator, for Cynthia, my great love, we salute you for being here seeking after truth. And we remind you, you're here to show people that the world is not bad and getting worse. It's good and getting better, and it's going to be better than it's ever been. And the way we do that is to win, 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 and win again. And all we have to do is unindoctrinate ourselves and get busy.